Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely fascinating journey of Mauritius. Now, if you're like most folks, that name probably brings up a very specific image in your mind. You know, a perfect, sun-drenched luxury getaway. But I promise you, the real story of this island is far more complex, dramatic, and frankly significant than any travel brochure could ever capture.
So that begs a pretty massive question. How exactly did an isolated, literally uninhabited volcanic rock in the middle of the Indian Ocean manage to transform itself into a booming global economic powerhouse and a widely celebrated rainbow nation? Okay, let's dive into this. On the surface, you've got the tourist view, sapphire lagoons, untouched beaches, and those amazing luxury resorts. But the historical reality, it's a completely different world. This island was forged in a crucible of competing colonial empires, built on the back of brutal slavery and subjected to intense ecological exploitation.
Section 1. An untouched volcanic paradise. From eruption to isolation. 2.7 million. That is an absolutely staggering number. It's the size in square kilometers of Mauritius's exclusive economic zone today. While the landmass itself is tiny, just over 2,000 square kilometers, its oceanic footprint is absolutely massive. To put that into perspective, Mauritius claims an exclusive economic zone that is among the world's largest relative to its actual landmass. Sitting roughly 2,000 kilometers east of the African coast, this profound isolation made it a highly strategic yet deeply vulnerable waypoint in the Indian Ocean. Well, emerging from volcanic eruptions about 10 million years ago, Mauritius was essentially a giant evolutionary laboratory. It was completely uninhabited until Malay arrivals in the 9th century. With absolutely no terrestrial predators, unique wildlife thrived in these dense, rare indigenous forests. We're talking giant tortoises and, of course, the famous flightless dodo bird. It was this pristine ecosystem, totally unequipped for what was coming next.
Section 2. Empires, sugar, and labor, weaving the dark threads of the tapestry. You see this dizzying succession of global empires all vying for control of this tiny rock. The Portuguese sighted it first in the 1500s. Then the Dutch settled in 1638, actually giving it the name Mauritius and introducing sugarcane. The French took over in 1715, vastly expanding those sugar plantations. And finally, the British conquered the island in 1810 during the Napoleonic Wars. The dark fuel for this global sugar trade was immense human exploitation. The French established a brutal system of slavery, bringing over tens of thousands of people from Africa and Madagascar. When the British finally abolished slavery in 1835, the plantations still demanded labor. And the solution they found? Well, it fundamentally altered the island forever. 500,000, 500,000 people. That is the sheer volume of indentured laborers brought to the island.
Between 1834 and 1920, desperately looking for labor for the sugar plantations, colonial powers brought nearly 500,000 indentured laborers over, primarily from India. This unprecedented migration wave permanently shifted the demographic destiny of Mauritius.
Section 3. The Rainbow Nation emerges. The clash and cohesion of cultures.
And this brilliantly illustrates the modern result of that history. Mauritius is now one of the most ethnically diverse places on Earth. Today, the population is roughly 68.5% Indo-Mauritian and 28.2% Creole. That's alongside Franco-Mauritian and Sino-Mauritian communities who trace their roots back to early colonists as well as Chinese laborers and merchants. Now, managing this kind of multicultural society is a delicate, daily balancing act. There's no central state religion. Instead, freedom of worship is guaranteed. They celebrate this incredible mix of Hindu, Christian, Islamic, and Buddhist festivals. And while English and French dominate the government, Creole is a unifying daily language. But, this multiculturalism isn't flawless. It coexists with deeply entrenched mono-ethnic political appointments, which creates a constant tension between ethnic rights and a unified national identity.
Section 4. Building an economic miracle. Defying the odds of independence.
When Mauritius gained independence from Britain in 1968, a lot of experts actually predicted fragmentation and economic disaster. But they were wrong. Instead, the government executed a highly strategic path to diversification. First, they capitalized on protected sugar exports to build up capital. Second,
They created export processing zones, drawing in foreign investment for a massive textile industry. Third, they meticulously developed a high-end, organized tourism sector. And fourth, they expanded into offshore finance and information and communications technology. A real game changer. It is genuinely an economic miracle. They took a vulnerable, low-income monocrop economy from the 1960s, one plagued by poverty and ethnic tensions, and completely transformed it. Today, it's a robust, diversified, upper-middle-income democracy with an incredibly high life expectancy. But, as we know, every miracle has a price. Section 5, Modern Realities and Conservation, the cost of the miracle. Just take a moment to let this next number sink in. Less than 1%. Today, the proportion of the island's original forest cover remaining is literally less than 1%. Centuries of clearing land for sugarcane, rapid urbanization, and the devastating introduction of invasive species have pushed the native ecology to the absolute brink. It makes modern conservation quite literally a race against time. And ecology isn't the only hurdle here. The challenges ahead are steep. They have to halt extreme biodiversity loss and deforestation, combat the perverse effects of ethnic-based politics, and address high inequality alongside slowing demographic growth. On top of that, they have to navigate vulnerabilities to global financial crises. The ultimate test is figuring out how to sustain this 20th century miracle in a hyper-competitive digital age. So an idyllic, perfectly harmonious Mauritianism hasn't quite been realized just yet. It's very much a work in progress. But the utopian ideals of that harmonious mix, despite a history rooted in exploitation, continue to drive the nation forward. They are constantly striving to weave a cohesive society out of a profoundly complex past.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. As Mauritius continues to navigate its intricate tapestry of history, diverse ethnicities, and economic ambition, what can the rest of the world learn from this island's remarkable transformation? It's a potent reminder that our histories do not entirely dictate our futures, provided we have the vision to diversify, adapt, and build together. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.